You are, you know, it's Jesper versus Kyle. It's about how you perform in that lane yourself. So we've been talking about it today, and we just want to bowl good first and foremost, and they're hitting it back at you at 120 miles an hour. So it's a tough shot there from Kyle. This is a fresh oil pattern, and you know we've spoken about this a little bit before. You know, this pattern is 5-1, and if you walked into a bowling centre and there was league, this is almost what they'd be bowling on 5-1. But in this environment, on this lane, with the amount of regesters we have, the fact that this lane was probably in storage for over a year, cleaned off, stripped and run a few times in a few days, us only getting so much practice. It's not the easiest environment to bowl on, so it is 5-1, but that kind of goes out the window a little bit. Kind of like I was saying before. Yeah, it's Jesper versus Kyle, but it's about how you bowl in the lanes. It's about knocking over pins, and that's the only way you're able to beat your opponent.
Absolutely, and that's what you guys did a very good job of last night, Dom. I've talked about it a few times to other people here. You guys really controlled the pocket, you filled your frames, and you put it on the Americans to show up and throw some strikes to beat you, and I definitely feel that worked out in your favor.
There was a sleep in between, but nothing changes. Svensson, sensational again.
Well, the big man has everything going his way so far. Just look at the enormous amount of power that he creates, and that ball shows no respect for those 3-pound, 6-ounce pins. And actually, I need a conversion for that, because do you guys work in pounds and ounces here?
You'll be okay.
So already a ball change for Kyle. The one he's threw before, I think it's one of his older ones, a bit oil soaked. This one's a fresh cover, much stronger bowling ball.
Well, a tough break here for Kyle Troup. Ball drifting slightly high, paying the ultimate penalty, the 4-9 split. This is definitely a makeable split, though. Not to be, however, there, and Kyle already in arrears. As we talked about earlier, he is 0-8 in Weber Cup matches against Jesper Svensson.
In Kyle's defense, I think most bowlers would be on the losing side of that strike ball that Jesper throws on this lane. Powerful shot there from Jesper. We're talking about the 5-1 pattern. The way that these patterns sort of break down on the right-hand side, that's the only knowledge I have of it, really. If there's only one lefty out of the 10 of us, that's Jesper. His side is going to break down very uniquely just for himself. But the fresh is a little bit touchy. It takes a few shots for it to blend out a little bit, which does make it a little bit easier. I think we're going to see that in the first couple of games, and the first few frames, half of the game on the fresh each time, until the lane sort of blends a little bit more, becomes a little bit more controllable. The oil pushes down in the middle part of the lane, and we kind of use that as hold.
Absolutely. I definitely think when the pattern starts to settle down a little bit, that it's definitely going to yield to some higher scores, creating more room, especially front to back for you guys, which I feel like yesterday you didn't have a whole lot of.
Well, unbelievably, last night in the opening session we saw a single spare pin missed on 7 different occasions. On his last visits, Svensson delivered, and I'm sure that Kyle will here as well.
Phil, I definitely think, speaking from a player's perspective as well, especially now that the players have really settled into this lane condition, they're used to the environment, they're used to the lights, they're able to compensate for the large amount of friction on this lane pattern, or these lane panels, I don't think we're going to see nearly the amount of missed makeables that we saw last evening.
No, that would be astounding. What's always astounding to me is the way that Svensson translates intensity into accuracy.
Now the big man stepping up, and the big man delivering again in the third frame, taking a 34-pin lead in the early goings. He keeps this ball a little closer to the inside so the ball doesn't have to cross as many boards down lane, and that's what helps get the 4 into the 7 and get all 10 pins in the pit. And for Kyle Troup, the time is definitely now to start striking.
Yeah, I've been in this position before, unfortunately, and you know, it's 4 frames. That's the third bowling ball Kyle has thrown now. As much as we just spoke about this being 0 and 8, Jesper's leading. Kyle goes at 2. The fantastic spare there. You know, that gives him 17 for that frame instead of the 9 it was going to be. But you know, we don't get a lot of practice. You're up against a guy who's got your number. It gets lonely, and the game goes past quickly in a flash.
Absolutely. It's I think as players we've all been there. You're stuck in a place with mediocre to little ball reaction. You got to make a lot of decisions. You hope you make a couple of the right ones, but you're balling a guy with a hot hand. Like you said, Dom, that game goes by very, very quickly.
That was being too long, and it got forward. That was all the ball makes sense to me.
Yeah, kind of listening to the USA team a little bit there. They were talking about ball reaction, and you know, we all need to be comfortable in this lane, and to bowl a good game, you have to bowl your way into it a little bit. And you know, I wouldn't like to be bowling against Jesper because there's no way he doesn't allow you to do that. You have to strike. You have to strike straight away.
Yeah, and you can see by Jesper's reaction there, he knew that wasn't one of his best efforts, but it still yielded a great result.
I think that's one of the great things about Kyle is his power, his speed, his rev rate, and someone who I've seen bowl a lot the last 5 or 6 years. And I think for Kyle, is one of his keys should be, you know, keep your speed up. Try not to use like too much touch and slow ball speed and ball shape. Like when I say ball shape, I mean curving the lane and trying to find friction. He's really good at overpowering a lane, and he just went back to a stronger bowling ball then, kept it firm, a little bit more end over end, which I think is a natural thing that he does, and yeah, worked out well that frame.
Definitely, as we say back in the U.S., you dance with the one that got you there.
Well, no strike for Svensson, but he remains very much in command of the overall match.
It's just amazing, Phil, as a fellow left-hander to watch Jesper. Even his taps, his wrap 7s are just so, they happen so quick. That 4-pin wraps around so fast. It's just unbelievable to watch the power that he creates and replicates.
That's one of the things about having power. It's really hard to harness it and be accurate, but that's exactly what Jesper does, and that's why he's one of the best bowlers in the world. He can repeat. We do have a system that tells us our stats called Specto. We have it on the PBA Tour sometimes. It's a good training piece of equipment, and it can tell you your ball tracking, everything, and Jesper's one of the best repeaters on tour, that's for sure.
Well, the lead 36 as we reach the half point of this match. What a great shot here again from Kyle.
It's a very set routine. The right knee in the air, resting. Then puts everything mentally and physically into the delivery.
Look at those eyes, Bill. Deadlocked on his target.
Yeah, those light mixes have looked good for Jesper. They did yesterday, they do today. I think this pattern is almost the same pattern as yesterday from looking at the lines that have been built into the patterns that go into the kegel machine there. It's just 2 foot longer, and that's the reason why we chose it, because it's almost exactly the same pattern we had success on yesterday. That little bit of length I think has caused a couple of those 7 pins for Jesper, but that could easily change as there's been stripped and run a couple more times before the light finishes.
Well, Kyle, in a must situation, has to keep striking.
Yeah, I'd say that one was missed in a board or two, probably a board down lane. It's not a lot, but it pushed for him and went through the pin. So, that's looking pretty good for Kyle now. He's found ball reaction.
These two have played in doubles tournaments on many occasions and won them. From the likes of Portland, Maine to Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, though, it's every man for himself. And Svensson very much with the upper hand.
Phil, it can almost be tough bowling at your doubles partner because you know what they're capable of. And you know when they have good ball reaction, you know in the back of your head what they're capable of. And so I would say if I was bowling my doubles partner up there and he had a good look, you know he's capable of putting a lot of strikes on the board. And it can be hard to face sometimes.
I think that was the big one for Jesper then. He had a couple of off hits. The ones that he did go flush 7-pin a couple of times, and that does get a little bit worrying. But that one was back in the heart of the pocket. The 7-pin didn't just fall over, it kind of got buried, and there would definitely be a little bit of an adjustment there for Jesper, and that's the one he's looking for.
Kyle up in the 8th frame needs to keep striking and hope that something unfortunate befalls Jesper Svensson.
You get the feeling this is pretty much over.
Well, yeah, that shot was just not what Kyle was looking for. And unfortunately for him, he pays maximum penalty and has just about put himself all out of this match. And it's just about elementary now for Jesper Svensson.
Yeah, I've kind of been there with this one. You have a game plan, you want to play straighter angles at the beginning, and that's kind of what Kyle's trying to do. You have a couple of early opens, and you have to chase it in quickly, a couple of ball changes. Feel like you've got something and you're under pressure, your opponent hasn't missed really, you have to strike, and then you get the one that you miss in, you kind of get away with it. You don't really trust it's going to hook back if you get it too far right, and then all of a sudden you get one in the middle and you big four and the game's over.
Teetering and tottering, but the last pin refused to drop. Not a great concern, but he sets himself such high standards. He wants to strike every time.
Well, I certainly think with his rev rate, he strikes a lot more than us mortals. But Jesper doing exactly what he needs to do to close this one out. Hit the 1-2 pocket and make your spares.
Well, history repeating itself from last night.
I'm blaming you two for that one. That's all on you two. I didn't say about missing spares. I didn't want to say anything about us being more comfortable about it. But yeah, you couldn't help yourselves, could you?
Yeah, sorry.
But spares do happen, and this game's still over. It's like concern if it keeps happening, I'm not going to lie. But Jesper's looking really comfortable. I expected Kyle to bowl a bit better than this. I think everybody did, especially Chris. That's why he put him out there first to try and make up for what happened last night. He bowled a good game last night. Jesper. Maybe they didn't think we were going to go Jesper early, but we know from previous history that if we're ahead of Americans, it's important to stay ahead. So getting Jesper out early. Stu bowled great yesterday in his match, which was the third game, so wanted to try and replicate that again today on a very similar pattern. Get out strong for us, try and get our lead a bit bigger, and bowl well. You know, it's cliches and everything else. We need to bowl well to win points, and that's what Jesper's done this game.
Well, at least he gets the chance to practice the spare. Of course, he missed the spare in the third frame last night against Troup and still racked up 268.
Dom, do you think if Jesper feels the current ball he's using, pitch black, do you think he tries the pitch blue in the fifth frame?
We've had this before where we sat down with like, Jesper, how can we help you? What can we do? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And so unique what he does. Like as right-handers especially, and Matt, I think you think a little bit more like us as well. That
I think
you're always looking for something a little bit better. Like Jesper's little moves make such a big difference to his ball reaction because he has such a high rev rate that it's almost better if we stay out of it and just let him do it. So he's going to make. I can't quite hear what they're saying there, but maybe like a hand position change or maybe move a couple of boards. And he uses speed a lot more than a lot of other people. So, yeah, he's only got 6 balls here. He's got a couple of reactives in there, a spare ball. So he doesn't have a lot of choices. Chances are he'll use a different hand position and a different speed, I
think. Well, Kyle Troup finishing up with 197. Certainly not.
Get closer to it, see if it...
What Captain Chris Barnes or Kyle thought they were capable of for the initial offering here against the Europeans, but Jesper just going to take a victory lap here. And this crowd showing their appreciation for the big Swede.
That last pin sticking there, spoiling the party. Only partially, though.
Yeah, great game there from Jesper, nice and solid. A couple of, well, that missed spare, but looking pretty good and a good start for us. And thanks very much for having me here, guys.